Welcome back, everyone, to our week 3 and final webinar for the Introduction to Site Administration course. My name is Susie Chan and I'm in the Adoption and Education team at OpenLMS based in Australia. Last week, we learned about theme settings, adding blocks and activities and resources. And just to point out, if you missed last week's webinar, the recording is saved here in the webinar recordings playlist. This week, we will wrap up the course by covering the gradebook, competencies, reporting. Sorry, I just swallowed some dust. Reporting. So this week we'll cover the gradebook, competencies, and reporting. As an admin, the gradebook is one of those topics that comes up quite often, as having appropriate grading and accurate grades is important to all of us. In this 4.0 site, the gradebook is located in the course admin bar under grades, whereas in this 3.11 site, like our training one, gradebook is in the menu on the left-hand side. In the gradebook, we'll start with looking at the grader report, which shows everyone in the course and their grades for each activity. When we create a graded activity in the course, so a quiz, for example, an entry for the quiz is created in the gradebook. Here we can also enter grades for students. If for some reason we need to override them, we can click on the pencil next to the individual. Then we can edit all grade items associated with that student. Or going back a step, the pencil next to the activity also allows us to edit the particular activity's results for all students. The settings of the gradebook happens in the Setup tab. We'll start with course grade settings. Here we can set the aggregation position. So whether the course total is the first or the last column displayed, and whether the display min and max grades based on the grade item setting calculation or the actual min and max grade awarded when the grade was given. We can choose the grade display type. There are different options for real, percentage, and letter. If you use the letter grade, remember you need to set the letter scale. Letter scale can be set at the site or course level. In the course level, select the Letters tab. And you see this table of letters and corresponding percentages that can be changed via Edit Grade Letters. If we want to edit it on the site level, you may recall from week 1, we could go into Site Administration, Grades, and Letters. And we can also edit the grade letters here on a site level. Jumping back to the gradebook, there are several reports in the gradebook. If I go to the drop down, then select Overview Report. This is what the teachers and admins see, which is a collection of all courses with the option to select a student and view that student's grades across all their courses. Select Bilbo, and there's Bilbo's grades. If I select the user report from the drop down, this is what the student would look at to see their grades. As the teacher, we have the option to view the report as any user. Select Bilbo again. In the user report, we can decide what we want the students to see. If I go to Setup, Course Grade Settings, down to User Report, there is a list of settings. For example, if I wanted to use their wanted the users to see their rank compared to other students, you can enable that here. Same with percentages and grades, etc. In gradebook setup, under actions, edit settings, we can set the aggregation method here. This week's course content will cover grade aggregation methods and what each of the different options mean and how they work, from natural, simple weighted mean, and weighted mean. Generally, natural is most commonly used. It's easy to interpret and also offers the option for extra credit grades if that's something you want to offer students. Show More gives us additional options. We typically encourage people to exclude empty grades because otherwise, if you're using something like weighted means, those zeros can adversely affect the calculation and make it look like everyone is failing when they're not. If I go back to the grader report, it's important to note you can also have categories for grades. So for example, say you have 5 discussion forums in your course, you could group these together into one category and assign an aggregation method. This can be really helpful, for example, if you want learners to participate in discussion forums, but altogether those discussion forums are worth 10% of their overall grade. And then you may have an additional 5 quizzes they have to do, which are worth 30% of their overall grade. If a student achieves 100% on all forums and quizzes, Moodle will distribute and ensure the grades are worth 10 and 30% of the overall grade, respectively. There are materials in the course that go into this in more granular detail to really help you understand how this can work effectively. If we now turn to look at competencies, the first question that comes to mind is, what is a competency? Simply put, it is a set of skills, knowledge, and behaviours that contribute to an individual's performance. Competencies can be used in Moodle as a criteria against which teacher can assess a learner. In Moodle, we can create competencies that are linked to specific activities learners need to complete, and we can also link those competencies to a learning plan. A learning plan is created when competencies from a competency framework are assigned to a learner, not when courses are assigned. The high-level process of creating competencies begins with creating the competency framework, which then allows you to assign it to a course and activities within that course, and at the same time, assign learning plans to your learners. Now let's have a look at how we set up a competency framework. Under Site Administration, under Competencies, we can select Competency Frameworks. We'll start by having a look at an existing framework. We'll have a look at this Demo General Education. You'll see there is a tree of sorts that can be expanded by clicking on each of them. It gives us more information about it, plus the option to add proficiency. This will make a little bit more sense as we look into the settings of the framework by clicking on the clog. When we create a competency, we need to provide a name. A description is optional. We also need to provide an ID and set a scale. This is what determines how proficiency is measured in a competency. If you need to add another scale, this can be achieved by going back into Site Administration, then Grades, and then Scales. Once you have decided on the scale, then you need to configure it. This is essentially what tells Moodle which scale values we consider to be indicators of proficiency. So satisfactory and outstanding in this example, and then we set the default, which is the minimum that is required to be proficient. Then there are taxonomies, which are what drive that tree structure we just saw before. It's optional to have up to 4 levels. It's not a requirement. There are many different options you can select depending on what terminology your organisation uses. Now let's have a look at how we add competencies to a course and assign them to learners. We'll go to the English writing course and select competencies in the menu on the left. Now we have the option to add competencies to a course. We select the framework we want to use, which displays those competencies, and we can add multiple competencies from there and select add. For this example, we'll choose the demo general education again. Under miscellaneous, we'll select basket weaving, even though it's a little unrelated to English writing. So if we select the competency that we've just added, it will take us to the competency details, and we can select what happens on course completion. It can do nothing. It can attach evidence, which will actually send the teacher a link to the activity, and they review that and sign off. It can send for review so the teacher can review the completion, or it can complete the competency. Once they've been added, we need to assign an activity to the competency. If we find an assignment in the course, let's use this assignment file. We'll go to Edit Settings, scroll down to Competencies. This is where we specify the competency it relates to. So we'll select that basket weaving. Then we can set what happens when the activity is complete. These are the same options for the course settings we saw earlier, but are specific to the activity. So you can have 2 levels of control. For example, we can have it do nothing at this point, and only once they have completed the course are they then going to satisfy the competency and mark it as complete. Now let's look at learning plans, which are sets of competencies assigned to a learner. So I'm going to select a participant. Let's pick on Bilbo Baggins again. Under miscellaneous and learning plans, you can see Bilbo already has quite a few learning plans. From there, I get the option to add a new learning plan. We can give it a name, an optional description, a due date, and whether it's in draft or active status. I'm actually, for this example, just going to use an existing learning plan to add a competency. To add competencies to the learning plan is similar to courses. So add competency. We select the framework and add some of those competency items. So we'll choose the same example as earlier, add. So that's been added there. Then under Actions, Edit. If you select Find Courses, this will show the learner what courses have activities associated with this competency, making it easier for them to see what courses they need to do to satisfy the competency. Here we can also request review for the entire learning plan or just for an individual competency. Once the competency is ready, we change it to make active. Then down the track, when the student has satisfied all the learning, we can complete this learning plan. So that's basically a summary of competencies. The last thing I'll show you today is the activity and course completion reports. These are available in any course and provide a great overview for teachers to track student progress. To see these reports, we'll just go into a course, go into English writing again, click on the cog, scroll down to more, and then under reports, we can see a variety of reports, including activity report. Open that in a new tab. Sorry. We need the activity completion report. That's the one we're looking for. There we are. Activity completion report shows a list of all the users and all the resources and activities with completion criteria. A ticked box indicates the user has completed the item. If you hover over a completed item, you can see exactly when the learner completed the activity. A perforated box means the completion criteria is set, such as receive a grade. A solid box means manually ticking something as complete. The teacher has the option to override this and complete it for the student if they wish. A red box means the assessment was completed after the due date. Now looking at course completion report. This is the course completion report. This will only show if course completion settings have been set for the course. It looks similar to the activity completion report. However, you can see an additional column showing who has completed the course. In this instance, no one has completed the course. You'll notice that there are only a handful of activities in here, and I'll show you why that is. If I go back into the course and go to course completion settings, you'll see down here in activity completion condition that an assignment and quiz needs to be satisfied for Moodle to consider a course complete. Plus, under course grade condition, you can see a student must achieve a minimum grade of 80. So now if we go back into our course completion report, we can see the assignment, quiz, and grade components there. The same with the activity completion report. A ticked box means that the user has completed the item. A perforated box means activity completion criteria is set. Again, if you hover over a completed item, you can see when the student completed the task. All right, that wraps up all the content I will show you today. Everything we've touched on today is covered in the course content in even more detail, so you can go through it at your own pace. But now I'll open it up for any questions.
Hi, Susie, this is Paula. We actually had an issue at school, and I'm wondering if I misunderstood what's showing on the grading. And I was writing it down before, is calculated weight the same as, where is my notes? Contribution to the course, or is that something else?
I'm probably going to have to put your question in writing and have a look into it. So what was that again?
Okay, it had to do with the calculated weight, I believe, showing, and and I'm sure that trying to figure out if that's related to contribution to the total, or and mostly I probably don't want to show those because we're still trying to clean up our grade books.
Okay.
So they get a little funky in there.
Yeah, let me have a look into that, and I'll definitely come back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely have a look at the content. It probably goes into a bit more detail than the webinar today. But yeah, was there any other questions? Okay, well, this brings us to the end of our last webinar for the course. In the conclusion section, there is a feedback activity, and your feedback is very valuable to us and helps us improve our courses. So if you could please share your thoughts with us, that would be great. If you'd like some more in-depth training or anything covered in this course or anything else Moodle related, we do offer custom training. So feel free to get in touch with us if that's something that you would like. And we hope to find you. We hope you found this course useful and enjoyable, and we hope to see you in another Open LMS course. Thank you.